Hello everyone, and welcome to part 23 of my WWE Smackdown Shut Your Mouth Let's Play. Been a while, huh? Well, I've been meaning to do this for a few weeks now, and something keeps getting in the way, and I keep putting it off, and I don't really have a real excuse. So we'll just put that out there. It's just me being lazy and doing other things again. That said, we are a few weeks removed from WrestleMania now, and let's see, how many weeks it's been? 2, 3 maybe? I think it's been 2. Close to 3. Probably around 3 by the time I actually upload this. So, there's definitely been some things going on in the wrestling business lately, and we'll start with the big one, because the last time I did a video, it was before WrestleMania, and if I can interrupt myself briefly here, there is a pay-per-view in England in this part or the next part. It's for this month of October, I believe it is. And you do that in between the first and second week. Just throwing that out there because I know I mentioned it earlier, but I never got to see it because the first pay-per-view, the first English pay-per-view is in it's May, I believe it is, and back in May I was still on Heat. Also, I've done a bit more editing now, and instead of showing you the person I'm going to talk to, I just segue right to them. As you can see here, we're talking to Chris Jericho. It's a much cleaner way of editing. Makes my life a bit easier. Doesn't look as sloppy. And then I could still obviously do some more work, but you know, this is a good way to make it look clean, make it look good without having to do too much work. So we're going to stick with it for a while. Now, as I said, we're going back to WrestleMania, which was a couple weeks ago, and I gotta say, WrestleMania 30, one of the best WrestleManias of all time. It was a very, very well done and great show. I loved it. Even though I only managed to catch the last few matches. I came in halfway through John Cena and Bray Wyatt. I got to see The Undertaker and Brock Lesnar, I got to see the Divas match, and I got to see the main event, of course, the Triple Threat. So while I can't comment too much on the first 4 or 5 matches, however many it was, like there was Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, which Bryan won, of course, and the Battle Royal, the tag team match. There's probably 1 or 2 others I'm missing in there, but very good show overall. One of the best WrestleManias of all time. That is how you do a milestone show, and I say milestone because it just irks me when they call it an anniversary show. WrestleMania 30 is not the 30th anniversary of WrestleMania. It is the 30th show. The 30th anniversary of WrestleMania is technically WrestleMania 31. It bugs me. I digress. The show was great. A lot of stuff happened that I expected, but one big thing happened that I did not expect, and that was The Undertaker lost. The streak is over, ended by Brock Lesnar. I was in shock, and everyone was in shock. Everyone in the arena, like, no one knew how to react, because the match itself was pretty damn bad and slow. Like, apparently The Undertaker had a concussion very early into the match, and it kind of screwed them all up. But, the match itself was pretty bad, and that's probably why it was so shocking. I mean, everyone just thought, oh, they're just going through the motions, Undertaker's going to win in the end. But then Brock Lesnar hits that F5, they get to the count of 3, and no one knows what to do. It just goes silent. There's no booing, there's no cheering, it just went silent. And I mean, normally in a wrestling environment, silence is a bad thing, a very bad thing. If you are not getting any sort of reaction, be it positive or negative, if people are just silent when you're out there, that is bad. That's not something you want to hear. In this case, though, they were silent because they were in shock. They didn't know what to do. It wasn't silence because of not caring. It was silence because of, oh my god, this just happened. The Undertaker just lost in a match that no one expected him to. It really threw me off, but you know, it made Brock Lesnar the most hated man in wrestling today. Seriously. I mean, Paul Heyman just has to go out there, say once that Brock Lesnar beat the streak, and everyone hates him. And it's great. I love it. Now let's go to the most loved man in the business, Daniel Bryan. He won the title at WrestleMania. He is the WWE World Heavyweight Champion right now. And he deserves it. the crowd the next night, they were chanting that you deserve it, and it's like, he does. He has worked his ass off for however long. This guy, he definitely has the potential to be the next big name in the business. Oh, by the way, I think this is when I started using a new finisher, the Tiger Bomb into it. Tiger Driver, sorry. Some people hate when you call it the Tiger Bomb, even though it's clearly a power bomb. Oh no, but the politically correct term is the Tiger Driver. Big fucking deal. I'm going to keep calling it the Tiger Bomb because it is a Tiger position into a power bomb. If you don't like that, fuck you. Anyway, as I was saying, Daniel Bryan won the title, just as he should have. And I mean, he beat Randy Orton and Batista to do it. And, like, Batista and Orton, that was going to be a pretty big bad match just on their own. Like, no one cared about them. Everyone hated Batista. Everyone still hates Batista. And me, I just don't care about Batista. Everyone goes like, oh, everyone hates him just like he should be. Or, you know, not everyone. I mean, the trolls. You know what I mean. I've gone on about them in the past, but they're all like, oh, Batista, you hate him now. That's just like you're supposed to. Haha, you're actually booing the bad guy. And it's like, I just don't care about Batista. He's there. Whatever. That's all I can say. Big fucking deal. Randy Orton I like, though, but, you know, the match itself probably would have been pretty boring. Orton, he does everything with a purpose in the ring. He is a very good standard wrestler. He knows exactly what he's doing. His timing is perfect. But he's not very flashy. He's kind of boring in that regard. I mean, not to say he can't put on a good match. Like, you just have to put him in someone who can also put on a good match, and he'll do very fine. If you put him in there with someone who's also boring, then he's not going to do very fine. But yeah, Bryan won. He deserved it. Let's get on to the next Raw. The Raw after WrestleMania is usually one of the best shows of the year, and it definitely lived up to the hype. It was amazing. Like, we had all kinds of shit going on. We had the Shield turning on the Authority. We had Paige debuting, and you know, I've gone into this before. The women's wrestlers, I don't buy this good by women's standard shit. To me, that's just a nice way of saying they're only somewhat bad. I mean, why not just say that? Why do you have to hide behind it? Why do you have to be so nice because they're women? I'm all for equality. I'm not for women being higher than men. I'm not for men being higher than women. I'm not saying that the world isn't like that in some aspects, because it is, and it sucks. It shouldn't be, but I'm for equality. And if that means that I have to say that a lot of the women's wrestlers are just very below average, they are. Paige, on the other hand, is a good wrestler. She is. I've seen her wrestle before, and she knows what she's doing. She's really good. And, you know, she won me over just by running the ropes. It amazes me how many of the women that the WWE hire do not learn how to properly run the ropes. I mean, that's one of the most basic things before you learn any moves. You should know how to run back and forth between the ropes. Now, some of the girls are getting better. I mean, like, okay, and by that I mean the Bellas. I had to think for a minute, but, you know, most of them are still good by women's standards. But, you know, they have the Bellas, they have Natalya, and they have Paige. They have 4 good wrestlers right there. Unfortunately, the match at Extreme Rules is Tamina versus Paige, and Tamina is among the worst they have right now. She's just awful. Everything she does is awful. The only reason she's still hired right now is because she is Tamina Snuka, and she is Jimmy the Superfly Snuka's granddaughter, no, just regular daughter. I know Jimmy Snuka's like 100 years old, but I don't think he's that old yet. Oh boy. But the show was great, WrestleMania was great, and we're moving on to Extreme Rules now pretty soon. And we got the rematch between John Cena and Bray Wyatt in a steel cage. I'm sure Cena will win again, and I mean, everyone's saying that Wyatt needs to win, and it's like, Wyatt shouldn't be wrestling. Bray Wyatt should not be wrestling. That's just me. He's awful when he wrestles. He knows how to play the character to perfection, but he's a pretty crappy wrestler. It's not the first time that's happened, and it's going to happen again with Adam Rose. Gimmick is really fun, and he plays it to perfection, but he's a really crappy wrestler. Unfortunately, I don't think he'll be as successful as Bray Wyatt. He will probably only be as successful as Fandango. Let's see, what else do we have that happened that night? Of course, we had Cesaro. He won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. He's getting into a feud with Jack Swagger, his former partner, and of course, Paul Heyman's now his manager instead of Zeb Coulter. I'm interested to see where that goes because, well, Cesaro is one of my favorite wrestlers right now. He is way up there. There's been an Intercontinental Championship tournament. This happened after the Raw after WrestleMania, so it was the second Raw after WrestleMania. And it looks at this point there were 8 people in there. Now we're down to the finals, and it's going to be Rob Van Dam versus Bad News Barrett. I'm a big Rob Van Dam fan. I'm not so big a Bad News Barrett fan. He falls into that group with guys like The Miz and Damian Sandow and who else falls into that group? There's a couple others, but my point is they talk good, but they're really boring wrestlers. They're really not special at all. I, of course, was pulling for Sheamus the whole time, but, you know, I kind of expected it to be Sheamus versus Cesaro in the finals, but no, it ended up being RVD and Bad News Barrett, who were the opponents of those two. Whatever, I'm pretty sure Barrett's going to win the tournament, but he's not going to beat Big E for the title. And if he does, whatever. I mean, Barrett's held the Intercontinental title, what, 2 times, 3 times, and his reign sucked each time. This isn't going to change it. I mean, yeah, they're building up the Intercontinental title again. They're making it seem to be the secondary title because before that was the World Heavyweight Championship, and then they fused the World Championship and the WWE Championship together, so now the Intercontinental title should be the secondary title. It should be the number 2. And that's why guys like Rob Van Dam and Sheamus are in that tournament, because they are the number 2 type guys. They're adding legitimacy to it. Even though I think Sheamus should be in the main title feud, like, yeah, Daniel Bryan, you'd think, oh, he's going to have some big name feud for his first match as champion. No, it turns out he's facing Kane at Extreme Rules. And I mean, that wouldn't be so bad, except for Kane before this. He was a corporate shill, and it was awful. That's one of the worst things I think Kane's ever done, and Kane's done some pretty bad shit in his career. I mean, the guy is a great wrestler, and he's probably in some of the best shape of his life right now. But it doesn't feel like a big feud for Daniel Bryan. And the reason it's like that is because Evolution is back, and that's Triple H, Randy Orton, and Batista. And that's 3 of the main stars tied up right there with the Shield. So then you think, oh, so why can't he face John Cena? John Cena's tied up with the Wyatts. You'd think this would be a good place to throw Sheamus in, but I guess Kane makes more sense storyline-wise, even though the match is very uninteresting. But yeah, after this, supposedly, Batista's going to take some time off, so I'm guessing Bryan's next opponent after Kane is going to be Randy Orton, which will be a much better feud for him. I personally would like to see him take on Batista. I mean, as much as I don't care for Batista, it's probably the biggest name feud he can get into right now, while Cena is obviously busy, Punk is gone, and while they're building some new guys, they're not quite at that level yet. They're more like, this is a throwaway pay-per-view, we're going to test the waters with Dolph Ziggler, or we're going to test the waters with Bray Wyatt, or whoever. So, now that we're through all that, let's go on to what's happening in the game here. I'm in an I Quit match at Rebellion, I believe the pay-per-view is. And there's a few things about the I Quit match is, it's not much different from a normal match, from a normal hardcore match, I should say, and before we get into that, Rebellion is one of the stages you can climb here. And I was hoping to moonsault Austin, get him through the table, and then make him quit, but oh well, I didn't. But the idea of an I'm going to keep calling it an IQ match for some reason, and you know, I'm not wrong, that's what it is abbreviated to, but it's an I Quit match, and the idea here is it's a basically a hardcore match, except you don't win by pinfall or submission. You beat your opponent down enough, and then you grab a microphone and go over to pin them with the microphone. That's basically the only difference. Like, a lot of the match types in this game are very similar to one another. They just have one small thing to change things. Also, I don't think I could actually powerbomb Steve Austin through a table like that. But because this is hardcore rules, we can move backstage, something I haven't shown off yet. And like, you've seen these areas when I went through and showed you where everything was, like where you can find people before your matches. But here we're actually wrestling in them. And you can find various items throughout. You can find various things throughout, and different objects to interact with. Like right now, I could throw Austin into that vending machine right there, and a drink would probably pop out. Or 3. And I used to... There must be a different game where you could pick up a drink and gain some stamina. I think that's actually Smackdown vs. Raw or Smackdown vs. Raw 2006. I'm not too sure. In this game, though, you can also interact with things like the Shop Zone stand and... oh, I want that! That'll help me beat him up. What I grab is a foam hand, and if you stand still with foam hands, you'll do a certain taunt. In this case, it's RVD's taunt. There's various other ones around, like Triple H, there's a Hulk Hogan one, I think there's a Steve Austin one, or like 3 Steve Austin ones, one for The Rock, etc., etc. By the way, that vending machine you can also climb on to do diving moves if you wanted to, because you can't do diving moves everywhere when you go backstage. Now this is where things get a little dicey. I thought I was going to lose this match as soon as he hit that stunner. I'm just like, I'm laid out flat and he's going for the microphone. But because I'm laid out flat, he can't move back there. I was able to get up. And I'm sure by now you can tell where this is going. I'm going to win this I Quit match, and you will see exactly how it works. You've seen me a few times go over him and ask him if he quit, but he obviously wasn't ready. This time, though, he still wasn't ready. It's been a while since I've watched through this. I've had this footage for a long time. But let's hit him with the spinning toe hold, because, you know, I'm clearly basing myself off of Terry Funk right now, you know, spinning toe hold, Texas Cloverleaf. And then I got my Bret Hart style tights on, kinda. But hey, I won the I Quit match. I keep calling it IQ because I keep thinking DQ, which is disqualification. Or Dairy Queen, which I could actually go for right now. Okay, but I won that match. I've got a few more parts to go through. I'll talk more then. I've got some things to rant about, but, you know, this part was all about wrestling in the game. Oh, and of course, because Rebellion's a pay-per-view, I can unlock something. So some new moves. Maybe you'll see me come up with something new next time. We'll see then.